Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dani and today I have quite a few stats for you. So I wanted to share the stats of what I read so far this year, so from January to June, and also my quarterly stats a little bit, and my June wrap-up, so everything in one video. The reason why I'm doing the June wrap-up here in this video is because I haven't read a lot really in June, so no point in making a whole separate video for that. I can just put everything together here, like I did in March. Because in March I also didn't read a lot, so all the things were together in the quarterly wrap-up. So let's talk about this quarter. Like I did before, I put here the books that I read in April, May, and June. So in April I read 6 books. In May I read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books. And then in June I read 3 books, and I also read Heartstopper on Webtoon. I don't have the books, so I'm not counting that in my page count, if that makes sense. On Goodreads it will count, it's going to be messed up, but I'm not counting it for myself, but I'm counting as books that I read for rating purposes, but not as books completed in the month, if that makes sense. So in April my average rating was 3.5, in May it was 3.9, and then in June, counting Heartstopper as well, it was 4.3. It was really high because I read one Fullmetal Alchemist, which are always 5 stars for me, and Heartstopper, which I also gave 5 stars to. So let's talk about June. The first book I read in June was Don't Breathe a Word by Jordan Taylor. This is a YA thriller that I enjoyed a lot. I gave 3.5, rounding up to 4 stars, I believe. And this has a story about a boarding school in which there's a secret society, and we're seeing 2 timelines, 60 years in the past and then in the present, and things that happen in the past and what's going on, what happened there. The girl in the present is trying to figure out what happened and all of that. So boarding school, secret society, it was really fun. There's a lot of psychological experiments, talk and like exploration here, which I really enjoyed. So I definitely recommend it. It was it was one of the best YA mystery thrillers that I've read, so I definitely recommend it. And then I read another YA mystery thriller, which was You Must Not Miss by Katrina Leno. Katrina Leno wrote my favorite book from last year, which was Horrid, and this was a miss, unfortunately. So this one tells the story of Magpie. Basically, she doesn't have a really good life overall. Her best friend doesn't talk to her anymore, betrayed her, and her mom's an alcoholic, her dad is absent. She has a pretty bad life. And at some point here, she figures out a way to go to this magical place where everything will be exactly as she wants. And the story unfolds from there. I say this is a mystery thriller because that's how it's sold as, but honestly for me it's more of a fantasy. The thriller parts are really only in the last bit of the book, which was one of the reasons why it disappointed me a lot. I gave it 3 stars, I think. It was a fine book, easy to read. I really like Katrina Leno's writing, and I like the characters that we were following here, but it just disappointed me a lot in how the fantasy aspects were implemented here. It was a lot of what happened in House of Hollow as well. The same reason why I didn't like House of Hollow is why I didn't like this one, but still, this was better than House of Hollow for me. I don't know, I just wished it was more mysterious and less explained and less wrapped up than it was. And then, like I said, I read Fullmetal Alchemist Volume 13, 5 stars. I can't say much what's happening in this point of the story. I love the series, one of the best fantasy series I've ever read, some of the best characters I've ever met, and I just love everything about the series, so definitely recommend it if you're looking for a manga to start and you haven't read this one yet. And then I also read Heartstopper on Webtoon. It's free on Webtoon if you want to read it there. And I read the whole thing that is available, and I really enjoyed it. I'm trying to divide it as the books were released, so there are 4 books, but there are 6 chapters on Webtoon. But like the first 2 books maybe were complete 5 stars for me. It's so cute, it's such a joy to follow those characters. I haven't said what it is about. So Heartstopper is a YA contemporary romance. I know, who am I? About a boy who starts falling for this other boy, and he doesn't know if the other boy is gay, but ends up that he is gay. That's not a spoiler, that's the whole point of the thing. And just how they interact with each other and how they get together and all their lives around it, and it's just really cute. I think graphic novel is a great format for me to read this kind of story because in novels it's just like pages of nothing really happening, and you already know where it's leading to, but you don't get there soon enough. So for me, graphic novel was perfect, and I would definitely recommend it. It's just really, really cute. Then the last bits of the graphic novel started to get more real and less cute and fluffy. There's a lot of things about eating disorders, and that part, as much as I think it was really well written, it just wasn't grabbing my attention as much because I really wanted the cute and fluffy to continue. So the rest of it was more of a 4 stars for me. But overall, I really enjoyed it, and I will continue reading it. So talking about only this quarter, my favorite book that I read in this 3 months was definitely Way of Kings, which was my favorite book of the year so far. So that was easy. And then my least favorite book of this quarter was The Secret Garden, probably, or The Husband's Secret a little bit, but The Secret Garden was the worst. Yeah, definitely was the worst. But I read some of my favorite books here in this quarter, especially on this month. So Way of Kings 5th season, The Ones We're Meant to Find, even Gemina were some of my favorite books. Vicious also. What else? I think that's it for like favorite awesome perfect books that I read in this quarter. But also some other really good books like Don't Breathe a Word, You Will Remember Me, How to Stop Time. It was really good, not amazing, but I enjoyed it. Today, Tonight, Tomorrow was a pleasant surprise, and Reach of Peace was also a lot of fun. And I think that's it for this quarter. So let's talk about this half of the year. I already did the mid-year freakout tag. You can watch that one. But I wanted to talk about stats because I didn't talk about stats in that video. So far, until the end of June, I read 32 books. Again, counting Heartstopper as books read, but not pages, because I don't think those were pages that I read. But I'm counting them in the books. And a total of 9,617 pages. Which I don't know if it's a lot, if it's not a lot. I really have no comparison point for this number. But it's almost 10,000 pages. Seems fun. And that is 64% of my goal of reading 50 books this year. From the 32 books I read, 16, or half of it, were fantasy books. And then we have 6 contemporaries, which are The Four Heartstopper, Today, Tonight, Tomorrow. I don't know what's the 6th one, but it seems like a lot, but it's because of Heartstopper. And then 6 sci-fi, 2 horror mystery thrillers. I need to get better at that. And then 2 historical fictions. The historical fictions were A Thousand Splendid Suns and Secret Garden. I don't know why I put Secret Garden as historical fiction. I guess it is kinda. I don't know, I'll just leave it there. It was there for a reason, but I don't know, should be. It's not a fantasy book. I guess historical fiction does make sense. But yeah, okay. Also, I consider classics, graphic novels, as a separate category. So like Secret Garden is a classic for me, but it's also a genre because classic is not a genre. So Heartstopper is contemporary, but it's also graphic novel. So like it is in 2 categories when it fits 2 categories. So I read 5 graphic novels, 2 classics, and 2 manga, which is also separate from graphic novel. Talking about rating, I read, so in my spreadsheet, I separated more in like 4.5, 5 stars. So I have 6 5 stars. Those were the ones that were complete 5 stars. I didn't even have to think about it so much. And my 6 5 stars were Full Metal Alchemist Volume 12 and 13, Vicious, the first 2 Heartstopper, and of course The Way of Kings. So those were the complete 5 stars. And then we have the 4.5 stars that I rounded to 5 stars on Goodreads, and they were still amazing, awesome books that I loved to read, and I considered them favorites, but they just didn't quite get to the 5 stars. And those I have 7 of them. And then I have 5 books that were 4 stars, 5 books that were 3.5 stars, 3 books that were 3 stars, and then doesn't matter for the rest. So I have an average rating of 3.88, which we could do better, considering that I'm giving more 4s and 4.5 stars this year. I think 3.88 is low. But I read like some of my 5-star predictions were not good, like House of Hollow and You Must Not Miss. So that screwed up the whole average. Regarding when I got or where I got the books, so 17 of them were new in my shelf. I'm considering new in my shelf if I bought them after December of last year, so all of the advent calendar books I'm considering new in my shelf, and then anything before that is old in shelf, which is 15.6% or 5 books. So I read 17 new books, 5 books that I owned before that, 6 books from the library, and 4 arcs that were given to me by the publisher. Talking about age range, I read 12 adult books, 17 young adult books, and then 3 middle grade. And about format, I read 11 hardcovers, 12 paperbacks, so 23 physical books, 5 ebooks, and 4 audiobooks. Since I'm working from home, I don't leave the house much. I don't have a lot of time to listen to audiobooks, so that definitely makes sense for me. For page count, I read 9 books that were between 300 and 400 pages. So the most of the books that I read were in that range. I read 1 book that was over 1,000 pages, which was The Way of Kings. I read 1 book between 600 and 700 pages, which was Gemina. It's a mixed media. I read it really fast, so the fact that it is 600 pages, it doesn't mean a lot. And then I read 2 books that were over 500 pages, between 500 and 600 pages. I don't have any goals for the page number. I want to read some of the books, no matter if they are really big, some of the books that I'm really interested in reading. So I don't have any goals for this, but I just like to see the stats. Let me know if you like to see the stats, because I feel like I'm just saying a bunch of numbers here that are not fun, but like I have fun looking at these stats. So let me know if you enjoyed this. But yeah, let's see what else we have here. About year of publication, I read 11 books that were published in 2021. That's a lot. I feel like I should be reading more backlist books just to get through my bookshelf, but I mean, I want to read new releases, and I read a bunch of arcs, so that makes sense. But 11 in 32 books is a lot. And then I read 3 books that were published in 2020, and then you can see how many books I read from other years. But yeah, I'm really surprised about how many books, how many new releases that I've read, or arcs, like I said. But this is, like, I don't mind, I just think I should be getting through my bookshelf, right? And then for nationality of authors, I don't have the number here, I just have the percentage because I did something wrong. But I read 34.4% of authors from the UK, 40% of authors from the United States. That makes sense, it's how it usually looks a lot. I read 6% of authors from Japan, which were probably The Fullmetal Alchemist, maybe something else that I'm forgetting. Some from Australia and UK, so they have 2 nationalities or they're 2 authors. Same for United States, China. If it's 2 authors or if it's 1 author with 2 nationalities, I put both countries here. And then some averages just out of curiosity. Like I said, I read 32 books, 9,617 pages. So that would average about 52.8 pages a day. It feels like a lot, but counting some of the manga graphic novels and all of that, it could be right. Okay, I'm not doubting the stats, it's right. And it would also average for 1,602 pages per month, which feels like a lot. But like if we look at a month like this, even this, it sounds about right. And it also averages for 5.33 books a month, which is great. My goal was to read 5 books a month. My goal in my M&ms CBR is 5 books a month. So I'm a little bit above that goal. Of course, not always I'm getting through the M&ms books, but either way, 5.33 books a month. That's really good. One other thing that I am keeping track, but I'm going to leave it to the end of the year to reveal those numbers because I don't think they make a lot of sense right now. But it is what's my star rating for adult books, what's my star rating for fantasy books, and all of that. So specific for each genre, each age range, each year of publication, all of that, what's my average star rating for that. I don't know if it's going to mean something in the end, but we'll see in the end of the year what that means, what happened there with those stats. Let me know if there are any other stats that you would want to see from me. I might have it, but I might not have seen it. I have a lot of stuff going on here in my spreadsheet. But if there are any others that I haven't talked about, just let me know. I would be able to include it or see if I already have it. Let me know how many books you read this year and how many pages you read this year, if you keep track of that in any way. More or less pages doesn't mean anything, I'm just curious because I like seeing those numbers. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to like it and subscribe to my channel, and thank you so much for joining me.